Yes, then everybody, welcome back to Thread Manchester. Welcome back to YouTube. We're back here today with another video, not a live video today, but more sort of breakdown into Jadon Sancho as a number 10. So that's what we're going to focus on today. As always, please do subscribe if you're new. Please do like the video if you enjoy it as well. And yeah, let's get started then. So let's talk about Jadon Sancho as a number 10. There's been lots of talk after that game against Nottingham Forest about Jadon Sancho as a number 10. So we're going to go through some clips from the game on Wednesday night. We're going to talk about why maybe Jadon Sancho worked out as a 10, maybe why he didn't work out, what he could improve, what's going to happen in the future with Jadon Sancho. So, guys, make sure you go and grab a cup of coffee, go and grab a cup of tea, a glass of water, a beer, a glass of wine, whatever you want, and make sure you stay focused on this because it's a very, very important topic. So, against Nottingham Forest, Jadon Sancho came off the bench, as you all probably know, with Rashford and Martial at the same time as well, which was quite interesting to see, simply because this is the front three that a lot of us thought is going to be Manchester United's front three maybe going forward a couple of years ago. But obviously it hasn't sort of worked out that way. Obviously Rashford looks like he's going to be sort of a long-term sort of part of the front three, but with Anthony coming in on the right, with Martial too injury prone, with Sancho's issues, maybe physically and mentally, perhaps we weren't quite sure what was going to happen to Jadon Sancho. So he came off the bench, played half an hour, and normally when Anthony comes off, Bruno Fernandes goes to the right-hand side, and that happened again. So although it was Sancho coming on, we maybe thought, oh, Bruno will stay as number 10, and we'll see Sancho go on the right to replace Anthony. Actually, no. Bruno went to the right, and Sancho came as a number 10. So this was his first appearance since October. So we've gone through the whole of November. We've gone through the whole of December. We've gone through the whole of January without seeing Jadon Sancho, which is quite extraordinary. Obviously, he's had his issues, but the first appearance since the 1-1 draw away at Chelsea in October. So let's have a discussion about how this dynamic worked. So I thought throughout this last half an hour of the game, our combination play was much, much better, much sharper, much more intricate. And I think Sancho was a big, big reason for this. So why was it? Constantly looking for 1-2s, combination play, creating triangles, and eventually Forest just completely tired out. So eventually we just completely tired this Nottingham Forest team out. Obviously we scored 2 goals, a couple of nicely worked goals, particularly the goal that Fred scored I thought was really, really nice. So let's have a look here. So here you'll see Sancho dropping deep. So you see he's dropping deep here. So we've got this triangle between Sancho, Fred, and Rashford. So already we've got Sancho dropping deep, receiving the ball. This is something that he does even when he's on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, so on the left or the right wing. Jadon Sancho very often comes short to receive the pass. He sometimes, I'd say rarer, it's much, much rarer that he'll make that direct run in behind between fullback and centre back. So very, very often he comes short to receive the ball. So very often he was actually coming short to dictate our play at times. He was often in positions that you'd find a traditional number 8. So there were sometimes he was picking up a traditional number 10 position. Sometimes he was actually more, he was working in wider areas, and sometimes he was actually operating a bit deeper as a number 8. So you'll see here he forms a nice triangle with Fred and Rashford. But United eventually lose possession. So you'll see here Fred into Rashford. And again, the triangle still remains. So United play around that Forest press. Rashford loses possession. But you'll see here, Renan Lodi goes for a pass infield. It's obviously a poor pass. But you can see already, you can see by the way that Jadon's feet are. You can see his feet, they're ready to anticipate. He's in that direction. You can see the way he's running. He's very, very ready to anticipate that loose pass. So you'll see here, he anticipates the loose pass. He gets on the end of it, and it's just his final pass, which is slightly off. And we can accept that, he's coming back. He's not fully sharp. I don't think that pass is because he doesn't know how to make the right pass. I think he very often makes the right pass. It's maybe just because, he hasn't played a lot of football recently and he needs to get up to speed. Once again here, you've got Luke Shaw on the ball. There you go, a nice long pass, a nice long switch out to Bruno. This is something that United did at least 2 times I noticed when I was rewatching this game that switch over to Bruno. And when you've got to remember that Manchester United obviously were in a fantastic position even before scoring a goal in this second half. And obviously when United went 1-2 up, United knew the game was over really, as long as they didn't let Forest score first in this game. United knew the whole tie was over. But when you are looking to tire a team out, when you are looking to keep a team pushed back, that switch of play is really, really nice, because it actually it really just asserts your dominance on the game. Forest will think, oh, we've got to get back into shape now. There's a long pass that's coming. We'll get back into shape, and that actually suits United. Let Forest get back into shape. United were not particularly too interested in playing sort of counter-attacking football as such. Obviously, Forest were just sitting back. They were quite compact. Well, they were trying to stay quite compact, and we were trying to play through them, mainly just to keep possession and let the game flow. We obviously didn't want to get any injuries. But when Rashford, Martial and Sancho came on, this slightly changed. So we had our play was a lot more intricate. We actually looked like scoring more than we did in the first half. But as I said, that switch of play, something we did a couple of times just to evade that Forest pressure. Bruno puts a foot on the ball. United just keep in possession. And this is something that Sancho sort of realised. So Sancho came short again. So you'll see here, Sancho comes short to receive the pass. So once again, he's coming short. He's looking for combinations. Also, you could argue, it's Sancho's first game since October. He also probably wants to get what does kicking the ball feel like at Old Trafford? I want to put my confidence up a bit. If Sancho came on in this game, maybe a big reason why Ten Hag played him as a number 10. Maybe it was because Ten Hag sees him possibly as a future number 10. Okay, he could play there. But also, if you are in the number 10 position, there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide. I know people have criticised Donny van de Beek about not getting involved too much in United's play and things like that. But every player is obviously different. But I think with Jadon Sancho, I think Erik Ten Hag was thinking, if I put him in the number 10 here, he's got to get involved. And if I sort of pressure him to get involved more in the number 10 position, to look for combinations, to link play, to be almost that centrepiece in United's midfield, that might actually give him more confidence. He'll get more touch with the ball. He'll be more involved. Whereas if he played out wide, is he going to have the same impact? So that's actually an interesting thing that I've thought of just about Erik Ten Hag and what he wants from Sancho, what he wanted in this game to give Sancho that boost for the future. So you'll see here again, Sancho comes short, but you'll see something we've seen a lot this season is Fred with sort of a third man run. So you'll see a couple of United players linking up or playing a 1-2. A player plays a return pass to another player, and Fred off the ball all of a sudden appears somewhere. And this is something that Fred, I think he's always had this to some extent, but I actually think he's improved this, actually. I think he's actually improved this. I think his movement off the ball in attacking sort of sequences and combinations, I think he's really improved. So you'll see here, Sancho actually draws Mangala out of position. And so Mangala was playing in midfield. I think Danilo would come on. So here's number 28, Danilo. And this is Mangala over here. So Mangala is really supposed to be picking up Fred. Well, he should look where Fred is. Obviously, Fred's normally on the left-hand side. So again, this is an interesting point about positional rotations under Ten Hag. Fred really shouldn't be there in like the theoretical school of football. Fred is actually playing on the left of a midfield three, sort of as an 8, obviously with Casemiro as a 6, and obviously you've got Sancho playing as an 8/10 as well. But Fred shouldn't actually be there. That's what's actually quite funny. But we know under Ten Hag, he's playing. He brought Lindelof on as a defensive midfield player. He's played Martinez. Before in midfield, he's played Luke Shaw as a centre back this season. He's really not scared to rotate players around, whether it's from the start or during games, giving players that license to rotate and cause problems. And Mangala obviously comes out to pressure Sancho. You've got Wan-Bissaka wide on the right, which keeps this player here, this Forest player here, sort of engaged, so he can't pick up Sancho. And then you've got Mangala, who has to come up to Sancho, which then leaves a space here for Fred. So you'll see Fred then exploits that space in behind that Sancho has created. And you'll see here, it eventually comes to Sancho. So Bruno Fernandes it eventually comes to, and obviously the cross from Bruno is cut out. But you'll see there another chance is created. We've got Jadon Sancho coming short. That then leaves space for Fred in behind. Here we go, another nice triangle. I know I keep repeating it, but it's very important. Another nice triangle here. Why are triangles important? Well, you'll very often see when you do have a triangle, why is it important? You've got more options. So the players have got more options on the ball. You've got nice angles as well. And also, very often you can outnumber an opposition. So very often when you see a triangle created, it's between a fullback, a midfield player, and a wide player. So we very often see it at Arsenal with Xhaka. We have obviously Xhaka, Martinelli, and Zinchenko on the right-hand side. Very often with Ben White, Ødegaard and Saka, we see these triangles that are created, and it's very, very difficult, particularly for the fullback and the wide player of the opposition, because how do they deal with this situation? How do they deal with it? You know, especially if you're coming up against quality opposition, how do you deal with this? Often you get an overload in a particular area, and we'll see here another triangle created by United. And it's this time it's Wan-Bissaka, Bruno, and Sancho. So you'll see here we've got Wan-Bissaka, who's just received in a wide area, coming then inverted. So again, you see the rotations that are happening. We've got Sancho now, who actually looks like he's playing it really where Wan-Bissaka should be. You'd expect the traditional style of football. You'd expect your fullback to be there where Sancho is. You'd expect Sancho to be where Wan-Bissaka is, and Bruno, who's actually playing on the right, supposedly, is coming to where Sancho should really be if he was as a number 10. So you've got here some really, really interesting combinations and rotations. So in this particular example, obviously Bruno, really, I stand corrected, because Bruno should be where Wan-Bissaka is because he was playing on the right. And traditionally, Sancho obviously should be where Bruno is, and Wan-Bissaka should be where Sancho is. But you'll see again the rotations. You've got the triangle there, and you'll see what I was talking about in terms of overloads. You've got two Forest players in that vicinity. So you'll see here with Casemiro, he's actually taken up a really advanced position. What does that do? Well, that then draws this Forest player towards Casemiro. That then leaves, you'll see a 3v2 on that right-hand side. United versus Forest, a 3v2. So that obviously makes it extremely difficult then for the Forest players. How do we deal with this situation? You've got Bruno Fernandes in acres of space. So you'll see here, let the play go on. Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, and then look, Sancho goes for the return pass. So Bruno finds it. So it's really, really nice from United. The pass is a bit poor from Sancho. As I said, we can accept that. He's not fully up to speed. But you can see there again, not just individually what these players, how these players are improving in terms of their combination play, and how Sancho has improved our combination play in this second half, but also what Erik ten Hag is doing to this team, how flexible, how fluid he's making this football team. You'll see there the rotations, players not where they're supposed to be traditionally, which is quite fascinating to see. Let's have another look at another triangle that's created on the next clip. So here, again, we see Fred off the ball, really tenacious, something that he's obviously really good at. Casemiro with not a fantastic pass, but again, United make a triangle again. So you'll see that it's Wan-Bissaka, Bruno, and Sancho again. Sancho again coming short. So you see how deep he is. So you see actually it's Fred that's actually the furthest United player forward. So he's actually further forward than Martial. So again, look how fluid this team is. We know from what Erik ten Hag has sort of shown us in the last few months, he doesn't really want Fred too close to our build-up play. We've seen Fred very often making more advanced runs. So yeah, we've seen many times Fred actually being quite advanced. I remember a game, I think it might have been in the Europa League at some point, where we had Fred as the number 10. I can't remember which exact game that was, by the way, but Fred was actually playing as the number 10, and it was Eriksen, I think, with McTominay, or Eriksen with Casemiro, I can't remember exactly, slightly deeper. So we know that Erik ten Hag wants Fred slightly further forward, and we know that Sancho is more comfortable receiving with back to goal. we know that Sancho is more comfortable in these deeper areas with his combination play, his link-up play. So again, here a triangle is formed. Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, and Bruno here. We know what Bruno is like, and I think he has improved this aspect slightly. And I think his overall performance in this game was really, really good. But I think Bruno here, and Erik ten Hag will see this and probably be disappointed that Bruno doesn't put this pass just into Sancho's path there. We know Bruno Fernandes likes to go for the really difficult pass, and he makes some excellent crosses and passes at times. We see here you'll see, I think in a little while, actually on the next clip, you'll see our second goal in the game, which was caused by an unbelievable Bruno cross. So obviously he has it in his locker. But here, obviously, he looks for the long pass to Martial. We get slightly fortunate because it drops for Sancho, and you'll see here the burst of pace from Sancho, and his pass is eventually cut out. But again, what's impressive to me is not just Sancho coming deeper, linking play. We create overloads, we create the nice triangles, but it's also his reaction when he's passed the ball. He's not actually standing still. There's obviously that old school football phrase, don't admire your pass. We see that a lot. You hear that a lot when you play sort of Sunday league football and football at lower levels. You don't admire your pass. Once you lay the ball off to a teammate, don't just stand there. Don't just stand there. Actually, go and make a run in behind. Go and make a run. Go and disrupt the opposition's shape. That might be it might be a very, very rigid shape. You might need to disrupt that shape to make openings. And again, Sancho made a nice run in behind there. But notice those runs are different than the runs I mentioned earlier. So when I talked about Sancho is not incredibly direct with his runs in behind, I meant those runs that sort of Rashford makes. So very often Marcus Rashford makes those runs between fullback and centre-back. Extremely direct runs in on goal. These runs from Sancho are more sort of pass, move, and a slight movement in behind one of the opposition's line, not the last defensive line. So that's just a little difference there. And here is an unbelievable goal, to be totally honest with you. This is really excellent. So this is the goal. So you'll see here, again, it's a really, really nice move. Martial, something that Martial is really, really excellent at is dropping into these deeper areas of the pitch, linking play, extremely comfortable, almost like an attacking midfield player in between the lines. So again, Martial here finds Sancho. Again, Sancho's actually in the role, in the position on the pitch that we'd expect him. He's playing as a number 10 or at the highest 8, if you like, in this particular scenario. And obviously, Sancho finds a nice pass out to Bruno Fernandes. And yeah, that is world class. And to be fair, from Rashford as well, with his weaker foot, we've seen Marcus Rashford. We saw, I think, last seasons before as well, Marcus Rashford doesn't have the best left foot, but there to actually guide that ball back across goal to Fred. And Fred, he scores a tap-in, of course. It looks like a tap-in, but actually how much work has Fred done there to get into that position? His movement in behind, brilliant. His movement in the box, excellent, Fred. So yeah, really, really happy with that. Just one point, I think really nice between Sancho and Martial. Two players that both like the ball to feet. Two players that like the 1-2s, the combination play, the link-up play. So they're two players I think to certainly keep an eye on. I think Weghorst as well when he plays at number 9. But I think Sancho and Martial, I think Martial's link-up play is a bit sharper than Weghorst's. Although I'm very, very happy with Weghorst in the team. I think when Martial is fit, I do still think that Martial will start quite a lot of games. It's just the problem that he isn't fit enough for us, really. But I think with Martial and Sancho, those two together, I think they've got a really, really nice relationship from what we've seen so far. Here's another one. We've got a different triangle for you this time. So we've got Varane, we've got Sancho, and we've got Bruno here. I think this here, I can't quite see exactly, but that has to be Wan-Bissaka. So again, you've got positional rotations. You've got Wan-Bissaka in an inverted role where you'd probably expect the number 8 to be. You've got Varane bringing the ball out. And again, you've got a real impetus, a real incentive from Sancho to come short, to link play. So you'll see there, linking play. And then look at that from Martial. So just wonderful, just excellent, really nice combination play. And then Sancho, this pass is not sharp enough. Again, it's not quite right from him, but it doesn't cost us anything. So we don't get anything from this move in the end, I don't think. No, so it's intercepted. But again, really, really nice. This is one of my favourite parts. So Maguire really, really dominant in the air. And look at this from Sancho. So how sharp he is, how well he turns away from, I think it might be Nico Williams out on in that left-back position. And Bruno fires it across goal. Unlucky, really. But that was really, really nice from Sancho. So you'll see there, he's not fully sharp, but you can see how sharp he is on the turn. So you can see that, I think, with his final pass. I think that could have been better, but it's his first half an hour of a competitive match and for the first team for many, many months. So I think for what I expected before the game, don't forget, it's Manchester United. It's very, as a fan base, we are very expectant. We've got high expectations and standards, and rightly so. You know, we should have. But I think I was so glad that the pressure didn't get to him too much, because I think this first game, when you come back, for Erik ten Hag to bring him into this sort of environment was an excellent decision. It really, really was. It was the perfect situation for him. And with Martial playing at the same time as well, and Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, so he's playing with the first team. So it's not like Sancho is going to come in, and no disrespect to these younger players, but he's going to come in and play, you know, with the younger players, with the likes of Mino, Iqbal. You could even suggest Garnacho, etc. He's not going to play with those players every single game. He's not going to develop those relationships with those players. That's not going to be too beneficial for him. But the fact that he was brought in with the first team players, and I know Garnacho has been a first team player, but he's not a starter regularly. So with the likes of Rashford, with Martial, with Bruno, Casemiro, Fred, etc., he's going to be able to develop those relationships more often. So I think it was a really, really good idea to bring Rashford and Martial on as well. So yeah, this is something I certainly want to see again. Jadon Sancho as a number 10. A lot of his best work comes in those half places, in those central areas, rather than on the sideline. As I said before, making those direct runs between fullback and centre back, that's not his expertise. His expertise is to come short, to link play. His quick feet in tight areas, his decision making in the centre of the pitch. A lot of his goals that he scored for Manchester United, if you think this season at home to Liverpool, away to Leicester, they are not coming from wider areas. A lot of his best work comes in central areas, in the half spaces. So this is why I think we could see more of Jadon Sancho in the number 10 this season. So thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I know this video is out a couple of days after the game against Nottingham Forest. I still hope it was useful for you. If you want to see this breakdown in text form, please head over to my Twitter. It's the same username as ThreadManchazza as my YouTube. And yeah, please do leave a like if you enjoyed. I really appreciate the support. Please do subscribe if you're new as well. The link to my Twitter is in my bio. So if you want to go and follow me on Twitter, that would be really, really appreciated as well. But yeah, I mean, let's be happy. We've got one of the supposed best talents in best English talents, the best talents we've seen in Europe from the last sort of 5 years or so. And he looks comfortable. He looks confident returning. So let's hope that Jadon Sancho can be back and can be a main part of this Manchester United side. Cheers, guys.